What is a small, everyday decision you made that unexpectedly changed your life for the better? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. From Story 1. Making it part of my bedtime routine to do the dishes before I go upstairs and get ready for bed. Usually I just can't be arsed, but I've trained myself to do it anyway. It takes 10 minutes. And when I walk into the kitchen the next morning, I'm always pleasantly surprised by how nice and clean it looks. Puts me in a good mood while I make my coffee and breakfast and starts the day off just right. Answer: I remember listening to a podcast where it talked about doing favors for your future self, and it really changed the way I approach a lot of things. A good one is I make a smoothie for breakfast every morning. It has a lot of ingredients and takes a lot of time. So I started mixing and proportioning everything for the week. It'd probably take me over 10 minutes to do every morning, and I dislike the hassle. Now it takes under 5 minutes. The total amount of work is the same, but as you said, it just feels better and easier. Story 2. Waking up 30 minutes earlier than I need to. Perfect amount of time for me to get up, make a pot of coffee, and watch the news before going to work. No longer rushed in the morning. Get to watch the traffic report to see if I need to take a different highway or bridge. Story 3. Clean as you go. I used to let things pile up and needed a big clean every week on my days off. Now I try to clean dishes when I'm done, etc. I have not since had a mess that felt overwhelming, and my mind feels a lot more clear. Story 4. No adult beverage. You'll lose weight, look younger, and don't have to worry about hangovers, adult beverage-related DUIs, or the nasty health consequences of drinking. Been almost 3 years sober, and it was the best decision I ever made. Answer: I've not completely removed adult beverage entirely, but I drink significantly less. Every year since I can remember, I've looked like a beach ball come January, and for the whole month cut out all adult beverage, caffeine, and chocolate to lose the weight. I then tend to keep it off until the summer, where it gradually builds back up again, somewhere between 32 to 34-inch waist trousers to up to 38-inch waist and back down again. This year, I've not put on much weight at all and won't need to go as crazy in January to shift the weight. The biggest difference is the huge reduction in adult beverage I've drank around August to December. I still have a pretty poor diet high in sugar and takeaways, so the aim is to reduce sugar intake for 2024. Story 5. Positive self-talk. Turns out my mental and emotional health improve a lot when I stop telling myself I'm pathetic and useless and obsessing over my every flaw and mistake and start reminding myself of all my good qualities and celebrating every accomplishment or victory, no matter how small. I call it the positive feedback loop. I've even discovered things about myself that I never knew before. Other people have noticed too. I get more compliments now. Story 6. A 10-minute or less nightly closing shift. Hang up coats, fold blankets, fluff up the couch pillows, make sure dishes are in the dishwasher, etc. Makes your mornings feel significantly more relaxed waking up to a tidied living space. Story 7. Breaks. I don't have enough energy to get through my coursework all at once, and doing so burns me out very quickly. I find taking a 5-minute break in between 40-minute work periods actually increases my efficiency and quality of work than doing everything in 2 hours at once. Story 8. Gratitude journal. Writing down 3 things I was grateful for throughout the day before going to bed each night. This has given me an overall gratitude mindset and has made me appreciate and deal with everything in life better. Story 9. To go into McDonald's when I was 7. I was having a final farewell week with my dad as I was moving away to Scotland with my mum the week after. As a treat, he took me to McDonald's, but on the way, I changed my mind to Burger King, and then I changed my mind again, and we went back to McDonald's. Thank goodness I did, because the total stranger standing in the queue in front of us was a mum and her 6-year-old daughter. It was her birthday, as she had a 6 badge on. Me and the daughter immediately became friends, and her mum and my dad decided we should all go to the park together. They swapped numbers and stayed in touch. Every time I visited my dad from Scotland, I would ask to see the girl from McDonald's. A few years later, my dad and her mum moved in together. Then when I was 14, they got married, and my best friend got to be my sister. This year, it will be 25 years since that day I walked into McDonald's. So very, very grateful. Story 10. Using idle time when things are cooking to clean. That item needs to be in the oven for an hour. I go do a chore for that hour instead of sitting back down. Things are only cooking for 10 mins. I use the 10 mins to clean up everything I use cooking zero mess, giving that time to cleaning instead of whatever has been a game changer. As a lazy, untidy person, I have a clean, tidy house, and it's next to zero effort. X200B. Also being slightly proactive, lot less work, effort, cleaning in the long run. I don't let those dishes sit next to the TV for the night next day. As soon as I stand up next, those dishes are coming with me and into the dishwasher. I spill something and make a mess. Take 5 minutes to clean it up properly. I don't have kids, but the same rule applied dinner starting to cook. Time for those kids to put away toys they use during the day and tidy up. Any toy they leave out is a toy they cannot play with the next day. Story 11. Drinking more water. When I worked in an office, I would get something to drink when I went to my desk. An hour later, I needed to recycle it, and I would refill my cup. Set up a virtuous cycle that, along with some other changes, contributed to a healthier and much lighter me. Story 12. There's something called the 5-minute rule, where you set a goal to complete a task, but you only focus on it for 5 minutes. If after 5 minutes you feel that it's so horrible that you have to stop, then you are free to do so without feeling guilty. Then come back to it another time for another 5 minutes, and possibly next time, you won't feel the same way and may stick around for 10 minutes instead. Story 13. Walking and cycling everywhere, rarely taking public transportation, unless my destination is 1.5 away or more. I look fit, save money, and it's also a very relaxing way to walk home after a long day. Edit, typo, we. Story 14. Every morning, no matter the weather, I sit outside for about 45 minutes before the sun rises. I don't talk to people. I don't answer or look at messages. During this time, I let myself think about anything without judgment. I'm often my worst critic. I am exceptionally hard on myself. So this is the one bit of day where I don't allow my own negativity to ruin it. I simply sit with myself and allow my brain to process whatever it needs to in that time. Once the sun rises, I enjoy the view a little longer, then begin the day. It felt useless and dumb at first, and I don't know what possessed me to start doing it in the first place. Learning how to become my own friend is rough, but it's giving me a steady foot to start the day. Story 15. Never skip nighttime teeth brushing. I still once in a while don't brush in the morning, but I haven't had a new cavity in a decade. Just have had to touch up 20 fillings recently. I have 8 fillings and most are from age 11-25. Story 16. I started a daily journal about 25 years ago. A few lines or paragraphs every day, with some gaps, of course. Usually do it just before bed. I may record a big event happening in the world, but more so that my left knee football injury back, plus what I was watching on TV at that moment. I label the time and temperature if I know them. Story 17. Being really good with my hygiene. Brushing my teeth at least twice a day, flossing every day, having a good skin and hair care routine, wearing cologne and good deodorant. I'm much more presentable than I was just 5 years ago, and it's paid off many times. Story 18. Movie Monday. I was absolutely bogged down with work and life outside of work, and it just felt like every day I was in a full-out sprint and still falling behind. One night, my girlfriend and I went to a restaurant to eat and have a few drinks and realized this was the first thing we did for ourselves in months. We decided to carve out a time every week for ourselves and defend it with our lives. It's been 7 months, and minus these 3 weeks for the holidays, we've made every single one. Even in the middle of absolute shoot storms or huge money problems, we just hit pause and do it anyway. We make popcorn, order pizza, and make a good drink like punch, Fresca, hot chocolate, etc. We pick a good-looking movie neither one of us have seen and make a night out of it. Some weeks we've had to put it on credit or get the pizza with change. One week we turned our phones off and dealt with the blowback of what we missed on Tuesday morning. I can't describe how life-changing this has been. We keep a diary where we write about the movie, the drink, the pizza, and our lives as they directly pertain to Movie Monday. I hope we do this forever. Story 19. Stopping in my car before going into work to tell myself that whatever I focused on, I gave power to. So I might as well focus on the good, the positive. I'm a teacher, and it completely changed my outlook, mood, and behaviors. I did it every day for 6 months before it became second nature. I still do it when I feel my focus narrowing on the crap. There's always crap, and there's always good. I get to choose what my mind will focus on. Story 20. I suffered from PTSD for a year. Medication helped the mood swings, but I didn't want to hang out with anybody. I tried a natural substance, and 3 years later, I am friends with neighbors and have joined a social club. Story 21. Microdosing THC. I went through a lot of mental health issues during COVID, and having 2 kids during that time, and I tried a few different prescribed products by my doctor, but all of them made me so nauseous to the point where I'd throw up basically daily. I found a little THC CBD shop that sold 5 milligram THC gummies for both daytime and nighttime. And on the days that I eat properly and exercise, taking one in the afternoon just makes everything so much easier on my brain. And I barely feel the usual effects from THC that I remember from back when I was in college. Story 22. I was in the habit of doing a circuit of a pub or nightclub before I went home to see if anyone I knew was in. One night on my way home, I did my usual sweep of my student bar. I chatted with an acquaintance who was standing chatting with two young ladies, neither of whom I knew. On my way back out again, one of the ladies practically jumped in front of me to stop me from leaving, asked my friend to introduce us. We talked, swapped numbers. We had our first kiss 2 nights later. We dated, and she went on to become the woman for whom I had the strongest feelings I've ever had. It didn't work out long term, but she made a hell of a mark. And I met her only because I was in the habit of doing a quick sweep of the pub or nightclub I was in. If it hadn't been for that, I'd have walked within a few meters of her and not even known she was there. Story 23. Stop trying to limit screen time with hard limits. I was using the goddamn phone more with those apps installed and intentional effort. I stopped stressing so hard about it, and my screen time dropped naturally since I wasn't constantly preoccupied with how much I was using my phone. Story 24. Not fully for the best because it was still traumatic, but I took my friend up to cat sit her kitties while her and her partner were away for a couple days. Didn't think anything of it. If anything, welcome to have a couple nights alone. I had a roommate. Second night in my roommate calls me that a tipsy driver running from the police crashed full speed into our gas meter and our house was fully on fire. All humans thankfully made it out alive. One beloved dog had passed, but that one causal choice to watch a pal's cat saved me from the impact and potential passing of that crash. Story 25. Gaining an awareness of exactly how easy it is to overeat. I don't have any weight issues, but my partner does. And she has struggled with it all her life, never being able to find anything to stay consistent with. We started a journey in June that involved lots of walking, but also tracking what we ate. It's shocking how much you eat without knowing it. Now, if we want to enjoy a nice meal out, we can. We just plan to earn the calories to do it. This allows us to maintain a healthy deficit as she is losing weight, but still enjoy the luxuries. She wanted to enjoy a fish and chips for the first time in months, so we planned and thoroughly enjoyed a 13-mile coastal hike that burned enough calories for 2 portions easily. Treat your calories like you would money and apply the same good habits. Earn it and then spend it. Don't spend what you don't have, yet FYI. Since June, she has lost 15 kilograms and is still going strong. And consistently, it works. Story 26. I installed a browser extension that removes YouTube video recommendations on the home screen and next to videos. I also deleted all the social media apps from my phone other than Reddit, which I don't get addicted to. I have regained dozens of hours each week to dedicate to activities I never had time for before, Reddit being one, and I've gained so much value from Reddit than any other app. Truly life-changing. Story 27. When I collect the garbage bins from the curb after sanitation truck rolls by, I help out by moving neighbors' bins up their driveway as well. We haven't really seen each other for 5 years. We have lived next to each other as we both have busy career and small business hours, but one day, the head of the household showed up at my door and introduced himself properly, as our previous and best interaction was only exchanging eye contacts and mutual nods for 5 years prior. He told me that all this time, he thought it was his sons or wife moving the garbage bins from the curb, but only found out that it was me when he saw me one early morning doing my garbage routine. He thanked me profusely. Since then, we have hosted parties and included the neighbors as well, and became more than just neighbors in our lives. Story 28. Not what you really wanted, but drinking tea made me drink more fluids, and I've noticed that ever since I've been drinking tea, I've felt better due to more hydration. Plus, there are a bunch of flavors, and there's no big downside to it. I drink different teas when I'm in different moods and doing different things, and it's crazy how strongly our minds associate the flavor of the tea with what we're doing. Story 29. Deleted my IG, Facebook, and other social media apps. Stop giving a shoot about what people do in their life. I'm only 26 and dislike my generation. LOL, everybody on their story looks happy and seems to have money. You meet them in real life and they're as miserable as it comes. Story 30. Giving at least one compliment to others around me. I tend to give multiple a day to people I know. I will often compliment others in conversations they are not part of, but I especially try to compliment a stranger at least once a day. The world is often so miserable and filled with negativity, and it's great to see someone's face light up a little when you acknowledge some positivity. You will also find yourself recognizing small things in others that make you happy. Added plus, as a woman, it is amazing to see the smile men get across their face when you give them any sort of compliment, no matter how small. You can just tell they don't get them often. Story 31. Using one of those pre-made food services. This has been such a blessing for me. I save so much money, and as someone on the spectrum with a history of an ED, it's done wonders. Saves so much time, I don't have to worry about gaining weight, and I get to avoid textures and being overstimulated at the grocery store. Also, I always have a decent lunch for work. Best solution ever. Story 32. I stopped getting large mozzarella sticks and a medium slushie from Sonic every day after work. I get off work at 2:30, so I would still eat dinner as well. I knew there was going to be a change, but the caliber of change was totally unexpected. I lost 15 kilograms in a matter of weeks doing absolutely nothing else besides not eating 1,000 calories of oil and pure sugar. Story 33. Be helpful and friendly to everyone you meet. It may not be hard for you to help someone, but receiving a helping hand when you need it the most can make all the difference. And then you're stimulating good karma. Hopefully that person will go out of their way to help someone else. It may or may not eventually get back to you, but either way, you have made someone's day that little bit easier. Story 34. So I'm building an app that I think can change people's lives for the better. It's an alarm clock app, but with a twist. You set an alarm like normal. Then you sleep. Zzz. Lastly, wake up to the sound of a friendly voice. A show. Congrats. You've received a nice voice message from someone somewhere else in the world. They recorded it while you slept. It could be a short story, a joke, the weather report, some words of encouragement, or a happy birthday message if it's your birthday. Inappropriate messages filtered out, no worries there. I truly hope it can help spread some kindness in the world, if nothing else. Story 35. A few small things have vastly improved my life over the past year. 1. Doing 7 minutes of exercise, stretching every morning. My aches and pains are nowhere near what they were. I feel more alert and relaxed in the morning, and it has even helped shift a few pounds. 2. Reduced caffeine intake. I no longer drink coffee after midday and very rarely consume anything with high levels of caffeine other than morning coffee. I am also trying to limit myself to 2 coffees a day. I sleep way better now. 3. Taking a vitamin D supplement during winter. I work in education, so during the winter months, I am constantly getting all the winter bugs and viruses. I also find it difficult to stay motivated and often feel lethargic when I get to work in the dark and leave in the dark. 1 vitamin D supplement a day for 3 months of the year completely changed that. Story 36. Walking every day. I work a desk job and used to average about 1,500 steps per day. I now get up every hour and walk around the block or around the office complex if I'm working there. I also hit the gym when I can, once or twice every other week. I maintain 10K steps at a minimum every day, and my partner and I walk as a hobby now. I've lost 10 kilograms and have so much more energy and life in me now. Feeling in better shape at 42 than I did at 22. Story 37. I gave up being angry. I know it sounds stupid and impossible, but I upset one of my friends once with my ego. I was considered relatively intelligent, but we were kids. He underperformed in a competition, and I was being my usual douchey self. He said if I was mean to him one more time, he'd stop being my friend. Well, I really liked him, so I stopped, and it stuck. I'm better for it. Getting angry never fixed anything. All the rage of anger never made me stronger, and every time someone picked on me since I've come out cleaner by being level-headed. Anger was useless to me, and he helped me see that. Plus, I wasn't even mad at him. I loved him. I was upset at the results. It changed my whole perspective. That was more than 10 years ago. I consider it a gift. Story 38. I make my lunch the night before work instead of in the morning before I leave. I'm a night owl, so I'm way more alert at night, which helps prevent forgotten items, and thus getting hungry later in the day, and has the added bonus of letting me sleep slightly later. Story 39. To simply go online and look for jobs. I was feeling discontent with my current and was starting to consider moving on. It wasn't anything I was really set on doing in the moment, financials, but wanted to see what was in my area. Saw a few that stuck out and thought, screw it, why not? Few days go by and I get a call back from my current job. Started 2 weeks later. I was in the food service industry and had been since I was 16. It's all I knew, and I'd like to say I honed my skills in that time and learned a lot about teamwork, leadership, and maintaining a temper. In those years, I'd worn down and become a shell. I wasn't really living, just surviving. The burnout was very real and the work schedule were just as rugged. I started my new job at a warehouse and I love it. Gone are the days of working late nights. Gone are the unpredictable days and stress of customer service. I rekindled the ties with my family and friends. My wife is extremely happy I'm able to spend more time with her. I'm over the moon about not feeling so soulless constantly. Best everyday decision I ever made. Story 40. Walking 10K steps every day, stopped drinking 10 months ago, working out 4 times a week, and eating a balanced diet with emphasis on more protein. People started telling me I look healthy and a couple of years younger. I'm going to be 40 next year. In the beginning, the whole regime was not easy, but after 3 months, my mindset switched and it became something I did effortlessly. Story 41. No adult beverage. No Facebook. Buy yourself something you normally would never buy for yourself once in a while, like once every other month, is really nice. I like remembering to be nice to myself. Give myself a little treat. Story 42. Charge my phone at night in the kitchen rather than the bedroom. Not having it right beside me not only helps me get up easier like I hoped, but I am sleeping better, even though I rarely looked at it throughout the night. Story 43. Lift my cheap jerk plastic dumbbell or do squats when I'm bored. Now working out is done a lot more frequently. I would also replace death scrolling with mindless lifting. No sets, reps, or workout regimens in mind. Just lift. Story 44. Showering before I have to go anywhere. Basically just washing my body but not my hair, because I already take showers at night. It makes me smell nice to other people in addition to the perfume I wear. It makes me feel cleaner. Story 45. I try to journal every day, and something my counselor told me years ago was to finish these 2 prompts, AX3 or X5, whenever I journal. I am grateful for, and I like the way it really helps me stay positive when every day I have to think about what I'm grateful for and what I've done that I'm proud of that day. Story 46. Deciding to live. I've been close to ending it a few times, but then I don't and come out of it with an attitude that I'm just on bonus time now. Do what I want, be true to who I am, and live life like I already died. It's pretty great. Story 47. A soft pillow placed between the legs while sleeping has prevented any back pain since. I learned this from a pamphlet for pregnant women while waiting for an appointment at a hospital. I'm not pregnant, nor am I a woman. I just enjoy reading pamphlets. Story 48. Eating plenty of vegetables and fruit. If I can't, I make sure I'm getting my RDA of vitamins and minerals from a supplement. It's so easy to get into the habit where your diet no longer provides some essentials, and then you start to get ill more often and can experience other issues. Story 49. Storytell audiobooks. Just have about an hour or 2 a week of really free time where I'm actually relaxed. Kids to bed, not sports for the kids, no work, no wife, no dishes, no talking bad to myself, etc. Decided to just give audiobooks a go. Just an hour or 2 a week. But the average audiobook is 8 to 10 hours. So just 2 hours a week, I went from 0 books in 10 years to about 10 books a year. Story 50. My dad started eating half of what he normally ate. After like a month, he was physically unable to eat more. He doesn't need to abstain from eating anything he likes, and he lost about 30 kilo and now has pretty much a flat stomach. All that for something that was kind of hard for a month. For whatever reason, people don't like to hear this. They would rather eat only beans for 2 weeks, feel like with that, their journey to health is done, and resort to their old ways. So yeah, till the ER, eat half of what you normally eat. Story 51. Wearing overalls has actually changed my life. I'm a fat guy, and the sheer comfort and confidence that comes from not having to fudge around with a waistband is wonderful. My wife and I also struggle with infertility. It's me, not her. And a few months after we had our first kid through IVF, we were shocked to find out that she was pregnant naturally. The only major change I had made in that time was starting to wear overalls, and I honestly think it was a huge contributing factor. Story 52. Do housework first thing in the morning. I used to get up and spend the first 10-20 minutes waking up, which meant reading Reddit posts and emails while drinking water. Now I go clean my bathroom, dust or tidy up, sweep the patio, that sort of thing. Mindless, manual work that helps me wake up and completes things I'd have to do anyway. All in the time I'd just be sitting there brain dead. Because I do 1 chore per day on a weekly basis, the work isn't much since it was just cleaned a week ago. It's like I have a maid who tidies up, but the maid is actually a half-asleep me. And the wildest part is I actually look forward to doing it. Story 53. Not dumb. I think there's a lot of little micro decisions and problems that come with choosing work clothes, so it makes sense. Like, oh, I took time to pick the clothes, but forgot I also have to choose a belt, socks, accessories to go with it. Or something doesn't look as good as you thought or fit well anymore, so now you're having to choose something else. Story 54. If you want to level up, just develop a uniform. You don't have to be Steve Jobs and wear the exact same thing every day, but if you buy duplicates of items in multiple colors, it eliminates the need to do much thinking. If you're a guy, a few sets of near-identical pants and shirts is all you need. If you're a woman, you can do the same thing, but maybe mix in a few identical dresses, skirts in different colors. So instead of, what am I wearing tomorrow? It becomes, which colors am I wearing tomorrow? That's a much easier decision to make. And no, most people won't notice that you're essentially wearing the same outfit every day. Story 55. I use cafeteria-type trays. That way I can pull them out and clean them. Instead of having to reach in fridge, leaving door open, I have an extra so I just rotate while the dirty one is being washed and the food isn't sitting out. It's also easier on my shoulders. Fridge is too deep. Story 56. When we bought our house last year, I made it my mission to be friendly with the neighbors, even though I'm painfully shy. Now we have very relationship with 3 out of 4 direct neighbors, and we're friendly with most people who regularly walk past. I love it. Story 57. When I was younger, me and my sibling had bad time with neighbors because our ball would go over the fence a lot. He would yell at us or keep our ball, so I would pray that as an adult, my neighbors would be nice. Since I moved in about 10 years ago, me and my neighbors are basically extended family. We all know each other and have each other's number and help one another in small ways like watching out for strange people, feeding pets when not available. We bake each other's stuff, and when we got extra food from BBQ, me and my wife debate who we send an extra plate to. We all wave to each other as we pull in out our driveway. We live in a sort of cul-de-sac in that one street leads to a dead end, and you can only turn left so there's like an L where we know the neighbors 2 houses down each way. Our right door neighbor is the lunch lady for my daughter's school, so sometimes she'll give a little extra to my kid. My left door neighbor and I smoke bud together. My front door neighbor breeds cute rabbits. My other front door neighbor is an ex-fireman and has 2 awesome hot rods cars. Yesterday, my furthest neighbor gave us a late Christmas present, a beautiful handwritten letter and a gift card to Texas Roadhouse. Story 58. I live in a large city where it's very easy to keep your head down and ignore your neighbors. Instead, I make an effort to know everyone by name. You never know when you'll need a bud or help. Also, in the event of a zombie apocalypse, you never know when you might want someone over for dinner. Story 59. Related. Click every unsubscribe link in every email you get from an online retailer you've bought from. I used to get 50 emails a day of random companies reminding me to buy Shoot. Now, when I get an email ding, most of the time it's something I actually need to read. Story 60. I started doing the dishes constantly every night after my kid was born to make sure everything was clean as soon as we needed it. It was like a switch flipped in my head, and what was once one of my most disliked chores has honestly become a somewhat relaxing wind-down process before bed. I'm not as consistent with it as I was at the beginning, but I still do it pretty often. And as you said, waking up in the morning to a clean kitchen is just really fudge nice, LOL. Story 61. I got so many friends that have dishes stacked up and just do them whenever they feel like it. I like going to bed with nothing in the sink. The last thing I do before bed is run dishwasher. I don't even wipe counters every day, but just everything being put away and most things clean makes worlds difference for the next day. Story 62. I remember listening to a podcast where it talked about doing favors for your future self, and it really changed the way I approach a lot of things. A good one is I make a smoothie for breakfast every morning. It has a lot of ingredients and takes a lot of time. So I started mixing and proportioning everything for the week. It'd probably take me over 10 minutes to do every morning, and I dislike the hassle. Now it takes under 5 minutes. The total amount of work is the same, but as you said, it just feels better and easier. Story 63. This is an actual game changer. I know it must seem totally ridiculous obvious to anyone who grew up with this rule, but for those of us who are, cleaning challenged, just the fact that there are not dirty cups, bowls, and plates everywhere totally changes the feel of the house and makes it easier to tidy up as you go. Put things straight into the sink or empty dishwasher and cook proper food too. Story 64. I do an annual closet refresh every New Year's. When I wear clothing, I put it back so the hanger is facing a different way than everything I haven't worn. So by the end of the year, anything that is still facing the original way means I haven't worn it for a year and it can be donated tossed. Really helps when it comes down to closet clean out time. Story 65. Every 3 to 6 months, I walk around every room and choose something to donate that I haven't used or worn in a long time, that has a bad association or memory tied to it, a book I didn't enjoy, or something that I'm hoarding for some eventuality that I realize will never come, and I donate it. I rarely, if ever, regret it. Story 66. Amen. Apparently mine was minor, but I was stopping breathing 40 times an hour. Additional bonus, I no longer snore. Additional non-bonus, my wife now snores because she can actually get some sleep because I am not snoring. Story 67. I have one. Was so resistant. I was falling asleep after eating, would fall asleep while driving, and at red lights, health was shoot. Got a CPAP and it saved my life. I feel amazing. Life changer. I use it every night. Story 68. I started CPAP in August. Went from 72 interruptions per hour, averaging 32 seconds each, 62 min O2 sat, 65 of the night below 85 O2 sat, to 5 interruptions per hour lasting less than 10 seconds each, and 94 min O2 sat. Fucking revolutionary technology right there. Story 69. I started CPAP in September. It's definitely a long game of trial and error to figure out what works best for you. But I did wake up my first morning and think, what is this strange feeling of energy and focus I'm having? Story 70. God, I've been on it for 3 months and I can't wait for this so-called better sleep. I forgot to bring it home for Xmas. I have slept better without it. Not sure if it's because I'm not working or what, but I'm so frustrated. But even now I have that tiredness behind my eyes. Just less. Story 71. I started doing that this year too. I work at a high school and I have to be there dang early. This school year, I've been making myself go to bed earlier and get up earlier so I can have a nice breakfast and not have to hurry getting ready. It makes my whole day easier. Story 72. Mine might be a little extreme, but I get up 2 hours before I have to go into work and arrive an hour before I start work. It makes me feel like I'm never rushed and just have time to wake up and be ready for the day. Story 73. Been FB free for 2 or 3 years now. Yes, I'm old. Life has been calmer, quieter now after quitting FB, if that makes sense. Never got into Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Back then, I was thinking, how am I going to fit all these in my waking hours when FB consumed most of my time? Then I discovered Reddit. Story 74. My dentist said I was grinding my teeth flat, and I got a custom mouthguard from them. It cost a fortune, 700 RC, but it has been so worth it. I'll lay in bed at night having forgotten it and wonder why I can't fall asleep. Or when I do manage to fall asleep, usually for naps, and I only nap when I'm sick, I wake up with the worst kind of toothache headache. Story 75. Hi, WallerMax65. I never comment, but I'd love you to answer me. I have chronic sinus headache pressure on my forehead, upper sinus. How did you know a mouthguard could help with the problem? Was it by accident? Did your dentist say something? I'm really interested. Story 76. I literally broke up with my fiancé over his insistence on the big clean instead of maintenance cleaning. There were other things, but I was exhausted of either A, feeling like the maid, B, living in a gross house most of the time, or C, spending an entire day every darn week just trying to get things back to homeostasis. Story 77. Same. I work out for 15-20 minutes off an app or YouTube from home before work every day, and while I'm not ripped or anything, I do find it helps with posture, balance, body mechanics, and my outlook on the day. Story 78. I remember finding Carmen Electra's DVD workouts in a Boxing Day sale once. The warm-up was enough to gas my sweet chubby jerkbee. The end of the summer, I had all the DVDs memorized. My girl Carmen has moves, and by the end of the summer, I did too. I could move up a set of stairs without getting winded. My dancing still sucked. Story 79. I've not completely removed adult beverage entirely, but I drink significantly less. Every year since I can remember, I've looked like a beach ball come January, and for the whole month cut out all adult beverage, caffeine, and chocolate to lose the weight. I then tend to keep it off until the summer, where it gradually builds back up again, somewhere between 32, 34-inch waist trousers to up to 38-inch waist and back down again. This year, I've not put on much weight at all and won't need to go as crazy in January to shift the weight. The biggest difference is the huge reduction in adult beverage I've drank around August to December. I still have a pretty poor diet high in sugar and takeaways, so the aim is to reduce sugar intake for 2024. Story 80. I recently went on a break from adult beverage. If you like beer, give some non-alcoholic ones a try. They have come a long way. Heineken 0.0 is literally the same exact taste. And then you have Athletic Brewing, which has great no adult beverage IPAs. Story 81. Congrats on 3 years. I can say from experience that being able to get into a car and drive pretty much whenever I want, assuming I'm not too tired, has been specifically liberating for me. I've been sober for over 10 months now, 1 year in early Feb, and since sobriety, I have gained about 35 low Bs. I have not been eating more. I have merely been existing, but now I'm existing 35 elabs fatter. Story 82. The Japanese do this, and I think it makes perfect sense. Would you rather sleep in the dirt and oil your skin accumulated throughout the day, or get 8 hours of sleep squeaky clean? Seems obvious when you think about it this way. Story 83. I can only shower at night. I think it's so much nicer getting into bed clean too. ESP with clean sheets. That's the best combo. Lol, I'm also a chick, so I don't think it makes sense to get showered in the morning and then immediately put on makeup and shoot. Feels backwards. Story 84. I switched to showering at night when my husband started working away. Mornings getting ready for work while also getting 3 young kids ready for school day home was not working. It took some getting used to, but now I love how clean I feel going to bed. Story 85. I've pretty much done this for as long as I can remember. I used to have pretty long, thick hair, and blow drying it in the morning for 45 minutes was just not an option. Best feeling ever to wake up clean with freshly washed hair. Story 86. Seconding this. I've also seen research that the mind can only focus for around 25 minutes at a time, so I do 4 25-minute intervals with 5 minutes rest in between. This allows for 2 full hours of focus. After the 4th interval, there's an automatic 25-minute rest to really allow time for your mind to digest everything you've read, studied, worked on. I use an app called Focus Keeper, and it's the best. Story 87. I had to put his name in my phone as do not text, insert name. I know I should just block him, and I have before, but for some reason I don't want to. When I see the note from myself next to his name, I don't text him 99.9% of the time. It's not a perfect system, but neither am I. Story 88. I'm so annoyed with the stairs in my apartment building. They are so slippery since it is just naked concrete. Note that these are the only stairs in the fire escape as well. I slipped down in like the first 3 months, seriously hurting my elbow, and after that, I'm done. Even for a single floor, I often just take the elevator. I do miss the exercise though. Story 89. I tried supplements, and they made me completely lose my appetite and gave me terrible digestive issues, so I had to stop. Decided to up my iron intake through a diet change, and it's been working well so far. Haven't had vertigo since I did it. I'm glad the supplements are working for you, though. Iron deficiency is no joke. Story 90. Meditation is awesome. I started doing a 10-minute practice from the Peloton app, since I barely use my bike anymore, hoping to change that as the weather gets shittier. And I've found when I meditate 3 or more times a week, I have a much more positive outlook on my life. Story 91. I always had this problem with meditation. I try to focus on not thinking, but then I'm thinking about not thinking. Really inconsistent for me. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. Spoiler tagged because ideas are memes, and I don't want to ruin meditation for anybody else. Answer. It can be a losing battle if you treat it as not thinking. This is how it's advertised, but it's not really possible to stop thinking. It's really more like being okay with your thoughts. It takes some practice, but eventually you realize you can have your normal thoughts without experiencing the emotions that normally come along with them. You simply observe your thoughts without judgment, as they say. You begin to carry that mindset outside of meditation as well, which is the real beauty. You learn to choose whether to be emotional about things, if they are worth your time and effort. Story 92. I quit caffeine cold turkey, and after 2 weeks of shiety sleep, I can promise you the outcome was so worth it. My coffee pot has been gathering dust in my cupboard for about a year now. Best part is when I have to pull a late night or feel extra sleepy in the morning, the occasional coffee really fucking hits. Story 93. Something similar to this. Washing my face with anti-dandruff shampoo. Apparently my acne was caused by yeast. Whenever I switched shampoos, I broke out with a million little bumps on my forehead. Thought it was an allergy thing. Took a couple years to realize it always went away if I switched back to specifically anti-dandruff shampoo. Story 94. Good work. I'm the opposite. I track my steps to ensure I keep below 4K a day. I have a chronic pain fatigue condition, and doing this means that I don't end up exhausted and in agony for a few days at a time. I managed to stop using a cane once I figured this out. Story 95. Yeah, walking's amazing. I started doing a lap around town with my friends 2 to 4 times per week last year. I tracks every walk and think I did like 800 km October last year to April this year, which is a nice bit of exercise. Except I wasn't exercising, I was hanging out with my friends. Story 96. I started walking a few months ago. I became disabled earlier this year. So even doing 3 miles a day for me is a lot, but I do it. And happy to report I have done 400 miles now, and my mental health has improved as well, as my physical health. It's been the best thing for me. Story 97. I wanted a dog my entire childhood, but my mom was against it because she didn't want to have to take care of anything else and didn't believe that the kids would help. Got one almost 3 years ago now, and he's the best. I'll never not have a dog in my life ever again. Story 98. Aren't they the best? Has my best friend. He could write a novel with the drivel, I tell him. And he's my excuse to get out for our daily walks to help my own brain from overthinking. Nothing like a daily Japanese bath. I know my husband is his favorite human, but I love how he plays the two of off for each other. Dogs are the best. And cats too. Recently had to put my senior lady to sleep. House very sedate without her demands. Story 99. I agree. Watch out though. One dog can lead to 2, then 3. Jokes aside, getting a dog was great for my mental health. I get out now and walk trails I never did before. I also get a lot of exercise that doesn't feel like exercise on top of my normal workouts. It's also helped teach my kids to look after creatures with compassion. We had cats before, but they don't require nearly as much work as a dog. They help feed and clean up after them. I do the walks. 2 are mildly reactive and 1 waits almost as much as me, but they help with training. My son is showing interest in being a K9 handler now. One of our dogs is a West German working line GSD. Animals are amazing. I could never live without at least one in my life. Story 100. Same except for my cat. I adopted her when she was 12. She had been in the shelter for 6 years, adopted and returned twice because she peed everywhere. We became a team. I eventually helped her out of her bad habit, about 5 ruined comforters, a ruined couch, and countless ruined pet beds later. And she helped me to learn to become a more patient and compassionate person. We identified her lymphoma early, and she had a happy 2.5 years before passing away at home in bed at age 17. We didn't have each other long, but she made my heart so much bigger. I now have a little cat who looks and acts just like her, and am so lucky. Story 101. I fell in love with bidets when I visited Japan a few years back. I ended up getting a bidet attachment for my toilet, and it has been an awesome addition. I got it at the perfect time too, because COVID hit soon after and the toilet paper shortages were horrible. Luckily, it wasn't a problem for me at all because I had the bidet. I honestly dislike using regular toilets now, LOL. Story 102. I quit Reddit for 18 months and managed to read so many books. Then I came back to Reddit, and while still reading, am not reading nearly as many. I used to listen to audiobooks when I was driving 3 hours a day to and from work. Now I'm working from home. I use that 3 hours for sleep and housework. Story 103. If it wasn't for audiobooks, I don't know if I'd ever get around to reading the Game of Thrones books. I'd listen to it while doing deliveries at work, so it'd take over a month to get through a book. But I really enjoyed it. Mivel C. Hall's narration of Pet Sematary is awesome. I also listen to Jurassic Park and need to listen to The Lost World. Story 104. Intermittent fasting worked better for me than I ever expected. It took a couple of weeks to get adjusted to not eating as constantly as I was, but I felt so much better for sure. I was also eating a lot cleaner at the same time and had fun making the special recipes for the protein shake stuff that came with the program I was on. I need to get back to it. I eat way too much Burger King. Story 105. Trust me, it will make things much more pleasant for you. It can be tedious, but it's well worth it. I'll usually put on a podcast or horror story narration while I do the dishes. It just makes a nice experience that kind of turns into a pseudo-meditation. It's also a good time for me to reflect on anything going on in my brain that I didn't have time to think about during the day. Story 106. This is how I've been able to put my record collection to good use. I'll pick a record, put it on, then go do dishes. Sometimes I'll let my daughter pick the record in an effort to get her interested. Story 107. My husband and I do this. We call it the turn down service, so the house is ready for the next morning. With full-time jobs and 2 young kids, it really makes a difference mentally. We clean down the kitchen, make sure all toys are fully tidied away, and put the cushions on the sofa properly, and when we come downstairs in the morning, it's not stressful. Story 108. Same here. I attach emotions to things that don't need them, like my kid's box of Valentines. I talk myself into thinking he'd miss them or want to look through them. He didn't even remember they were there with candy available. He's certainly never going to sit and reminisce about them. Found 2 old Valentine's boxes today and tossed them, among many other things. Same goes for stupid trinket things. Those little items that go in birthday goodie bags. I refuse to buy those and participate in the cluttering of my friends' homes. Answer: my daughter has the best memory out of anyone I've ever met. She's only 3, but she remembers things that happened over a year ago. Not major things either. She'll randomly remember a toy that came in a Happy Meal from 6 months ago and ask where it is. It never fails that when my wife or I finally throw something out, she'll ask for it within the week. We have containers full of crap and folders full of her school projects because you never know when she's going to remember something and ask about it. Story 109. My ex-wife was a hoarder. About 8 years into the 17-year relationship, I started becoming minimalist among my own belongings, hoping she would, with conversation and agreement, follow suit. All the space my belongings took up just got filled with her trash. At one point, we were renting a 20x20 storage unit full of crap. We finally were pressured by a storage unit that cost a car payment each month and ended up reducing to a 10x10. Since separation, me and my 2 kids' stuff we want to keep and maintain has reduced to a 5x5. Story 110. I also tried it for a few months and slept worse with it on. Then I got a used treadmill for cheap and started running 3 days a week, and it improved my sleep quality so much more. Even 10 minutes a day is a night and day difference. Story 111. I meal prep. I suggest take it in steps. I started with making meals a night or so before and packing up a couple days worth at a time. Now I make my breakfast and lunch for the entire week. I keep it super simple. BC, I dislike cooking, and I mostly eat to maintain my gym routine. Breakfast casserole. Grease a quesadilla dish. I use bacon grease. Layer the bottom with tater tot hash browns. In a separate bowl, mix eggs and veggies, then pour that into the dish. Cook that for 30 to 40 minutes at 350 degrees. In the last 10-15 minutes, add shredded cheese on top. While that's cooking, I also make a package of bacon on a cookie sheet. Split that all into 5 to 6 days of breakfast. Alternative, mini omelets. Get a small pan, set heat to medium, throw some butter or bacon grease on it, add a cup or so of frozen veggies. Heat them up for about half the cookie time, then add your eggs. Put the top on the pan and cook through but don't finish. Use the top to flip the egg over into the pan so you can cook both sides. Then add cheese to the top and cover until the cheese is melted. Takes about 8 minutes per. So you could make 5 pretty quickly, but takes more work than the previous. For lunch, I just make boneless, skinless chicken thighs in the Instant Pot. Put half a bottle of sauce in, like sesame ginger or something like that, with a big splash of soy sauce and a bit of water. Cook that for 15 minutes and release the pressure after 10-15 minutes. Usually lasts me 5 days. That would also go good with rice and veggies. Buy yourself glass containers. Don't get Amazon basic stuff. If you can eat your food up in the container, it's so much nicer. Story 112. I do this too. When I started my job, I knew it was going to require quite a bit of energy. I'm not exactly a morning person, but what I like is having relaxing time for myself in the morning. I never ate much for breakfast before, but now I cook something hearty and healthy and take time to enjoy my coffee in the quiet. It eliminates any anxiety about getting up and going to work. Story 113. Sports news is mostly rampant speculation, cherry-picked stats, and manufactured drama, especially during an off-season. You're much better off without it. Often the only definitive news is the score at the end of the game. Story 114. 2 years clean from TikTok. I re-downloaded it to look up a product review the other day. I started scrolling for fun, and just like you, I was shocked that I spent hours on there. Not to say that I spend my time in more productive ways, but it literally is so boring and unfulfilling. Story 115. Yeah, one thing was, I wanted my place to be presentable every day and not worry about company. The Big Cook works a lot better. I get 4 to 5 day weekends so I can cook all my meals in one day, then have 3 to 4 where I just need to clean a bit after eating, then I go to work. Story 116. Not OP. Not that adult beverage is something we should be drinking, but it sounds like your usage is minimal compared to drinking averages. I was drinking pretty much 4-10 beers every other day. When I stopped, I lost a ton of weight and my mental health improved massively. Really, everything in my life changed for the better. Bottom line, cutting adult beverage will always benefit you. You may not notice the immediate benefits, but you'll be better off in the long term. Story 117. It depends on the person. During puberty, I was a heavy night sweater, so that meant I needed the morning shower or B rank. That said, out of puberty now, and I could switch to the evening shower if I want to. And I do. It is convenient. But it is kind of hard breaking the habit of showering in the morning, or more accurately, actively deciding to shower in the evening, as opposed to being forced to shower in the morning, because you were too lazy tired to shower in the evening. Lol. Story 118. People in South India bathe twice, once in the morning and in the evening. Morning Bafre prayers, or they start the day, an evening after finishing work, or just before getting in bed. Makes sense, as many places in South India are hot and humid. Story 119. Would you rather sleep in the dirt and oil your skin accumulated throughout the day, or get 8 hours of sleep squeaky clean? Except some of us sweat in our sleep, and I'd rather wake up and wash that all off. Story 120. Would you rather go to work and be around tons of people squeaky clean, or with an 8-hour night of accumulated funk and sweat still on you? Not saying you're wrong, but there are reasonable arguments to make either way. Story 121. Same here. It's part of my night routine, and not only does it help me wind down, I just cannot fathom getting into bed dirty. Even if I've been WFH, I still need my daily nightly shower. During the summer months, I'll shower twice a day. Story 122. Yeah, I feel gross in the morning because I sweat all night. I think everyone sweats at night, maybe some more than others. I read you sweat 12 1 liter every night, so I would much rather start my day clean. I shower at night if I feel dirty or sweaty as well. Story 123. I've heard of a strategy where you regard your first thought as what you're conditioned to think, but the second thought you have in response to it is how you choose to think. So if you have an "I'm a piece of shoot" thought, you can follow it up with "that was an unkind overreaction to the situation. What can I do to learn and improve?" You can also consider how you would respond if a friend had a similar flaw, made the same mistake. Would you be so harsh with them? Story 124. To paraphrase a line from BoJack Horseman, which I've never actually watched but I've heard is great, it gets easier. You have to do it every day, that's the hard part, but it does get easier. As others have already said, you have to start out small and correct negative thoughts with positive ones, whatever the smallest positive thought is that you can convince yourself is true. If you can't tell yourself, "I'm doing really well," and believe it, tell yourself instead, "I'm learning how to love myself and improving a little more every day," because that's true. If you don't mind reading more, I can share with you my story. Maybe it's similar to yours. Personally, I had to reach a point of such desperation to change that I was willing to put in the work. Unfortunately, for me, that meant hitting absolute rock bottom. Last year, I had met a woman who, at the time, seemed like my dream girl, someone who seemed perfect for me on paper. I tried so hard to make it work. She ended the relationship in less than a month. My whole sense of identity imploded, and I thought, if I can't make it work with someone who's perfect for me, I'll always be alone. I criticized my every move. I cursed and called myself names if I so much as dropped a spoon on the floor. I was spending all my free time alone, drinking, crying, and at times literally staring at myself in the mirror, self-harming while saying the cruelest and most evil things I could think of. I hit my breaking point when I watched a YouTube video that posed the question, if you were able to look into the future and see that no matter what you did, you would never find true love or have a happy, healthy relationship, how would you choose to live? And my gut reaction, without even really thinking about it, was to say that I would just end it immediately because life alone isn't worth living. That scared me enough that I snapped out of my depression-fueled brain fog and said to myself out loud, that isn't okay. You can't do that to your loved ones, and you can't live like this anymore. You have to change. You can change. It was truly a life-changing epiphany. I realized that I had spent most of my adult life trying to please others and make them like me, doing things I felt like I was supposed to do rather than simply because I enjoyed them or because they were good for me. I realized I wasn't even honest with myself about who I am or what I want, and I disliked myself because I wasn't measuring up to the idea of who I was supposed to be. I had heard from different people through the years that a person should treat themselves as though they were someone they were solely responsible for, whose well-being depended on them keeping their act together. In other words, once you become an adult, you have to act as your own parent and take care of yourself. You also have to be your own partner and best friend, because if you can't love and care for yourself, how can you care for someone else? You can't devote your life to caring for others while neglecting yourself. Because no matter how much others love you, if you dislike yourself, you'll never feel truly loved. Your relationship with yourself lasts your whole life, and you can't break up with yourself, so you're better off learning how to cultivate that relationship. I started speaking kindly to myself in the mirror at times, giving myself compliments and encouragement, the way I would speak to a spouse or child if they were depressed and in crisis. I also started leaving my comfort zone, spending evenings out of the house and around other people, taking dance lessons and socializing. I'm still a work in progress and still have negative thoughts and battles with depression, but when I look back to where I was even a year ago, my life has dramatically improved. Story 125. I try to do that too, but it's so difficult to stop that bad habit. Any advice? We can always be our own harshest critic. Sometimes it takes a conscious effort to tame that. I focus on my language use. Is it positive sounding or negative? Where do you put the focus? When you talk with other people, you are more inclined to say positive things, so start using positive language on yourself. It can be a lot of small instances that build up. Like after cleaning your house, instead of saying, well, it's not as bad as it was, say, it looks nicer or it looks cleaner. Little things like that build up, and when you apply it to yourself, it makes a big difference how you feel. Story 126. When the Chatter Monkeys and Brain Weasels chorus gets overwhelming, I, out loud, say, stop it, and I'll repeat it until they actually do stop. Same thing with the committee. Their judgment is unwelcome and often wrong. Stop it. Sometimes I have to slap my hand. The mild physical pain breaks the cycle. Story 127. I've been struggling with intense negative self-talk for years. I've been taking small supplements of lithium orotate since July, and it literally changed my life. I've been on therapy for a couple years though. Story 128. Meditation is the practice of training your mind to focus on one thing at a time. Sometimes it takes a while, and that's okay. When your thoughts go wild thinking about not thinking, sit in it. What are those thoughts like? How did they make you feel emotionally, physically, spiritually? Instead of trying not to do something, allow yourself to experience it. Story 129. It can be a losing battle if you treat it as not thinking. This is how it's advertised, but it's not really possible to stop thinking. It's really more like being okay with your thoughts. It takes some practice, but eventually you realize you can have your normal thoughts without experiencing the emotions that normally come along with them. You simply observe your thoughts without judgment, as they say. You begin to carry that mindset outside of meditation as well, which is the real beauty. You learn to choose whether to be emotional about things if they are worth your time and effort. Story 130. There's a bunch of different ones you can try. Mantra meditation could be useful. It kind of hijacks your internal monologue because you're using it to repeat a phrase in your head. It can be any phrase or word. The purpose is just to use it as an object to focus on and return your focus to when you become distracted. Another one that's useful is labeling noting naming. You focus on your breath mostly, but when other things come into your mind, you label them and then return to the breath. If it's a thought, you just say thought or thinking, or you can go more complex and say memory, planning, worry, or whatever the thing that arises is. Story 131. Think of it as working out at the gym. If you're not being challenged by the weights, you're not exercising. If everything is light and requires no effort, you're not benefiting from it. Meditation is the same. It's not standing still without thinking, but rather the practice of letting your thoughts come and go with ease. If you sit and spend 10, 15 minutes without any thoughts coming to your head, you're not meditating. There's no goal in meditation. There's no such thing as a perfect meditation session. Meditation is the practice, not the goal. Observing the thoughts and letting them go is part of meditation. It's what you're training your mind to do the rest of the time. Don't get attached to thoughts. Don't let them define your moment. Live in the present. Story 132. I discovered the same thing. My forehead was completely covered with tiny little bumps for years. It took me several years to realize that using Head and Shoulders completely eliminated the problem. The other acne on my face and back also cleared up almost completely. I wish I would have discovered this as a teen and not at 27, but I've been really enjoying finally having clear skin. Story 133. I got lazy and stopped doing separate shampoo body wash and just started using Head and Shoulders for everything in the shower. Did wonders for my skin. In general, I find shampoo just works better for me than body wash soap. Story 134. Not the original commenter, but I walk on a treadmill while I work from home. Half an hour on and half an hour off throughout my workday. I used to do kickboxing and stopped when I got a dog, but now that I'm doing cardio again, I feel much better. Lowered my high resting heart rate. My legs feel stronger and more defined. It doesn't hurt to stand up for too long, and I can exercise for longer without getting winded as quickly. It was a mistake to let myself get out of shape to begin with, but I'm slowly getting back to where I want to be. Also, good shoes are essential.